This is an iHeart podcast.
Horsepower, 0 to 60 times. These are among the benchmarks when considering a new vehicle. But Lexus believes there are some things, immeasurable things, that matter more. Awe, exhilaration, joy. How a cabin feels like it was crafted with you in mind. The way an engine note resonates with your soul. Because a car that doesn't make you feel something is a car that stops short of amazing. That's the standard of amazing. Lexus. Experience amazing.
Hey sis, it's Mandy Money from the Brown Ambition podcast. Are you wondering, how am I going to break free from this paycheck to paycheck life? How do I get into the stock market? Is that my 401k? Is it my HSA? What even are these things? We have y'all covered at Brown Ambition. I'm your host, Mandy Money. I'm a career and money expert. I help women start building generational wealth to get the dose of empowerment, strategy, and community that only Brown Ambition can offer. Listen to Brown Ambition on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, from Wonder Media Network, I'm Jenny Kaplan, and this is Womanica. This month we're talking about outsiders, women who marched to the beat of their own drum and rejected stereotypes about what women should be. They're aesthetic pioneers, norm benders, and often some of the only women in their field. Today's outsider lived more than 2,000 years ago and still managed to leave her mark. Not just in the history of philosophy, but in the very idea of what a woman could be. Let's talk about Hipparchia of Maroneia. In ancient Greece, 340 BCE, women have next to no social status. They're defined by the men in their lives. Sometime around 340 BCE, a girl is born into a family in Maroneia, a prosperous city in Thrace, Greece, known for its wine and trade. Her future was supposed to be predictable. Marry a rich young man, manage the household, weave, and stay out of the public eye. But Hipparchia had other ideas. Thanks to her brother Patroclus, her path strayed from the norm. Patroclus had been a student of Aristotle, but he'd left behind the comforts of conventional philosophy to follow a radical thinker, Crates, the Cynic. Crates was old, poor, and famously ugly, at least according to some ancient writers. He followed a philosophy called Cynicism, which was rooted in shamelessness, simplicity, and self-sufficiency. It called for its followers to become a citizen of the universe and to reject the dominant social and political order for a more unconventional life. Crates gave up all his possessions to live in absolute poverty, rejecting social norms and embracing the Cynic life. This was not the kind of man Hipparchia's parents had in mind for her. But it didn't matter. Hipparchia fell in love with Crates and his worldview. She was so determined to be with Crates that she told her parents she would rather die than marry anyone else. Even Crates tried to dissuade her, but Hipparchia wasn't deterred. She wanted something different than what society seemed to value. Status, beauty, wealth, none of it mattered to her. Hipparchia married Crates and adopted his extreme, unconventional lifestyle. Hipparchia and Crates lived in the streets of Athens, owned nothing but cloaks, sleeping wherever they could, and begging for food. They believed virtue came from living according to nature and reason, not social customs or comfort. Their marriage was more than a personal union. It was a public philosophical act. Cynics usually rejected marriage as a social institution, but Hipparchia and Crates redefined it. Their partnership challenged both Greek gender norms and the expectations within Cynicism itself. They lived their beliefs so fully that later writers claimed they even consummated their marriage in public, living out the Cynic belief that nothing natural done in private should be shameful in public. The couple had at least 2 children. According to legend, their son was rocked in a tortoise shell, bathed in cold water, and fed just enough to live. Hipparchia was a philosopher in her own right. In a world where women weren't allowed to attend lectures or speak at symposiums, she defied those rules. She accompanied Crates to events usually reserved for men. One night, she caught the attention of Theodorus the Atheist, a philosopher who held education in high esteem and mocked her for daring to leave behind women's work like weaving. He jeered, "Is this the woman who left her carding combs beside the loom?" Hipparchia didn't flinch. She shot back, "It is I, Theodorus, but do you suppose that I have been ill-advised about myself if, instead of wasting further time upon the loom, I spent it in education?" Theodorus had no response. There was nothing he could come back with that wouldn't contradict his own teachings. Although none of Hipparchia's written work has survived, the stories told about her by later philosophers show a woman who refused to stay silent, who claimed a seat at the philosophical table and dared anyone to push her out. She's one of the few women from the ancient world remembered not as someone's wife or daughter, but as a thinker, a challenger, a philosopher. When Crates died around 280 BCE, Hipparchia briefly led the Cynic school in Athens. But, as was so often the case, leadership eventually passed back to the men. Hipparchia died not long after Crates in 280 BCE, but her legacy lingered. The Stoics, whose philosophy gained popularity not long after, were deeply influenced by Cynic ideas that Hipparchia lived and helped to share. Hipparchia wasn't just an outsider, she was a revolutionary. In a society that saw women as second-class citizens, she claimed a different kind of life, one of reason, virtue, equality, and freedom. She walked away from wealth and comfort to live as her truest self, and she never apologized for it. All month, we're talking about outsiders. For more information, find us on Facebook and Instagram at Womanica Podcast. Special thanks to Liz Kaplan, my favorite sister and co-creator. As always, we'll be taking a break for the weekend. Talk to you on Monday.
Explore the winding halls of historical true crime with Holly Fry and Maria Tremarchi, hosts of Criminalia, as they uncover curious cases from the past. The legend of the highwayman suggests men dominated the field, but tell that to Lady Catherine Ferrers, known as the Wicked Lady, who terrorized England in the mid-1600s. Her legend persists nearly 400 years after her death. Highwaymen are in the hot seat this season. Find more crime and cocktails on Criminalia. Listen to Criminalia on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, when's the last time you've listened to Hot 99.5? Because we have all of the hit music, but also a lot more. Like Intern John in your morning show. I'm Elizabeth Bethany. I want to make sure you always know about the latest events, deals, and things we're making fun of around the DMV.
I love this station. You talk about real stuff.
And Nick Gomez gets you access to all of your favorite artists. And we're all giving a bunch of things away every day. In fact, you might even be able to win $1 million.
Oh, snap. I won, too. Awesome.
We're DC's #1 hit music station, Hot 99.5.
This is an iHeart podcast.